All right. Thank you, Mark. It was wonderful. Hello, I'm James J. here with your poetry news and literature news. And we have a special guest in the studio today. We have poet Jill Devine, who has a new book coming out from Two Dogs Press. That's a local press here in town. Actually, it was a press that was originally in Seattle, and because of the arts scene here, the literature, the entertainment scene here, we drew it here to a bigger mecca here in Flagstaff, and so here we are. Jill's book will be coming out, though, in a few months from now, late spring, early summer sort of thing, so we thought we'd get her here on the show, so we're happy to have Jill Devine around.
Jill Devine!
It's nice to be here.
And usually on the show we'll cover all sorts of poetry, all sorts of literature, and talk about events and writing process, things like that. So today I just want to take advantage of having Jill here in the studio and ask her a little bit about her own writing and how she manages to do what she does. So thanks for being here, Jill. I think she's going to read a couple of poems. But first of all, I just wanted to ask, because a lot of the folks in the audience, the studio audience here and at home, they wonder, how do you get started? How do you actually make enough time to sit down and write a book of poetry? Oftentimes people only have enough time to write one poem, much less a whole book of them. So when do you block off your time?
Well, I have to say that the poems in this book are a series of poems that I've probably been working on now for maybe, I'd say some of the poems are 8 to 10 years old. So I've been collecting poems over time, and I think there's approximately 70 poems in this book, and they go from probably 8 years ago to maybe 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, good-sized book.
Yeah.
And do you generally write in the morning, at night, or just sort of when the spirit of William Butler Yeats hits you underneath the tree? Or
My process. This is because I do have a 9-year-old son, so I don't get a lot of writing done during the day, during the evening. We're doing homework and dinner. But when I write, I usually write at night, usually around 10, 11 o'clock at night. I'll sit down for a couple hours and write then. I like to have a glass of wine when I write. That's always very nice. Sit at my computer and just get into it.
Great.
Yeah.
Do you want to start by reading one of those poems?
I would love to. This poem is called Killing the Possum. This is the first poem that I got published. And Killing the Possum. It was, after all, a nuisance, would probably kill the hens, so we set a trap at dusk near the coop and waited. Next day there he was, a small thing with a skinny face, pink mouth and tongue lolling there like something private. It paced around and made some bad smell, and poking a stick in at it made the teeth show all yellow and smooth. The flat part of the shovel against the little gray head made a sound like someone walking real slow with heavy steps, and the grass turned red first and then brown. We buried him under the early girl tomato plant, and I said, please God, let his soul come back as something else. And all that year in the chili and the spaghetti sauce and the sandwiches with the bright red pinwheels of tomato, I saw him playing dead underneath the silver square of the shovel.
Terrific.
Thank you.
Haunting poem. Is that a poem that you had worked on for some time? As far as, did you go through a lot of revisions and drafts?
That poem, I'll tell you, that poem came out literally one time in probably 20 minutes, because I had actually just witnessed this, and I came in, the possum was gone, and I wrote the poem.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's well. I just was thinking when Johnny Mack was on earlier today, he was talking about as far as the local small actions, how they make bigger effects, and that seems like one of these
Right.
poems that's very specific, orientated towards your own, what you saw and witnessed. But it has much bigger ramifications. It seems to echo.
yeah. I just think poems are stories. Poems are stories that we tell in a condensed, smaller version that sometimes is yet so much bigger.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Is that now? You teach a couple different places. Is that something that you impress upon your students?
Yeah, I do. I think that the story within the poem is what the reader wants to hear, but you want to have a universal touch to that story. You want everyone to be able to feel that and understand that.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah, through the story.
Yeah. And I was just thinking, because you teach sometimes over at NAU and over at Coconino Community College, as well as other spots. I know that for a while we both have taught in jails and things like that, so other locations. Yeah. And it is interesting to try to get that idea, trying to compress a story down just to its bare parts and let it resonate in a poem.
Yeah, I was talking to my class just a couple days ago about taking out all the words that aren't necessary. That's what a poem is. It's a story with all the words that aren't absolutely crucial out. So that's what I see.
Yeah. Speaking of which, do you have another poem that you might want to read for us?
I do have another poem that I'll read, and I'll just tell you that part of the process, too, for me is to give myself exercises. This was an exercise in condensing about 40 years and making it all present tense. So that was the exercise I did. It's called Current. I jump in, the water covers me. I am being born. The water is air. I start to swim. I start to cry. I keep swimming. Some things die, but mostly things grow. Marigolds at the side of the house, puppies from the hunting dog that lives in the backyard. When I hurt, my mother says I have growing pains. I'm not popular, but I'm not the outcast. I'm not smart, but I'm not the idiot. I'm not even swimming, really. I'm doing the dog paddle. I stay afloat. In the 6th grade, I have knobby knees and long hair. I'm embarrassed most of the time in a general way. I sit outside at night and watch Venus rise. I go to Dairy Queen with my mom and dad. I keep swimming. Things are still dying or growing. I go to movies. I try a sip of bourbon. I get my high school pictures back. I shake the water out of my eyes. People swim alongside me sometimes, but mostly they don't. The water flows so fast, I choke on air. I love moving. Sometimes I'm so tired I don't move at all. Some days I go back, some days I go forward, but I keep swimming. I write letters. I like the taste of stamps. I miss my mom and dad, but I live far away and don't call. I'm in a big place. I worry about freeway shootings. I swim away. I live where things are covered in fog. I can't tell the difference between the growing and the dying. I play pool or shop for postcards. I may still be having growing pains. I may be drowning. I may just be plain and average. I moved to a small place. I never drink champagne. I date sad men. I like addicts. I read books. I practice blowing out birthday candles. One day I grow legs. I walk on land. I'm still not popular, but I'm still not the outcast. Once in a while, I have sex appeal. I watch my parents get old. I talk to them every day. I become patient. I understand the importance of photographs. I grow vegetables in the backyard. I keep walking. Sometimes I close my eyes when I eat. I chuckle when I'm by myself. I find people to walk with. I dance in the living room. I have a child. He is swimming.
That's just a terrific poem. That is one of those poems that I've heard you read it a few different times, and it's always one of a crowd favorite. And I know sometimes when you're doing your readings, you'll do different material, try to change it up, and inevitably someone will call that out, sort of like Freebird. One of those things
exactly
someone wants
like
to hear
Freebird.
That book, let's see, we're looking at that book will probably be out around April or so, and it'll be available from Two Dogs Press. And so that's one of those things, too. I think if folks want to get a little more information about that, if they go to www.twodogspress.com, we'll get some information up there. Maybe some of those poems, too.
Oh, yes.
Get on there,
yes.
See the hard copy of that. So, excellent. Well, is there anything that you would say to our folks out in the studio audience out there or at home as far as any advice for their own writing? As far as I know that you do a lot of different jobs. You have a terrific son that you're raising, and just a lot of things that gobble up your time. Is there any advice you'd give to folks that might be in a similar situation?
I just say keep writing. Write, carry paper around, write in the car. Write on grocery receipts. That's what I do sometimes, and just keep writing.
Okay. Excellent. All right. Well, thank you very much.
It's great to be here.
It's great to have you here in the studio, and we'll take it over to Mark here.